Gonna catch me riding dirty.
They can hear you, Doug.
I know.
This is going to be fun, obviously, because Doug is here. So you know it's going to be crazy today. But before I bring on Doug and Stacy, I want to talk just for a moment about Health and Healing God's Way happening next week, April 25th, 26th, and 27th in Little Wirtz, Virginia, near Roanoke. We'd love to have you there. We have an excellent lineup of speakers. We're going to be talking about hormonal health, fertility health, circadian health, all kinds of stuff. So check it out. We'd love to see you there. And with that, I am going to introduce my guests, Doug and Stacy. Hey guys, there you are.
Hi.
You're gonna like
happy
this.
to be here. We made it.
It was not an easy thing, was it?
But we made it by the hair of our pretty chin chin.
Just don't get too close. We don't need to see the hair on your chinny chin chin. You know, being a woman, I understand that. We can see Doug's hair on his chinny chin chin.
Yeah, he's got long hair.
He does. He definitely does. And he had much less hair in this picture.
Well, I have more hair in that.
On top.
On top, yes. But on your face, not quite as much. I think you're probably licking the fork from eating your wedding cake or something there. But that is a good place to start because that is where your story starts.
Yeah,
So
look how sterile we look.
I know. You look like super clean, although Stacy still looks like a wild child.
That's me.
Yep. That's like a flower child. That's me too. I think that's why you and I get along and relate so well.
I know it. Yep.
Yeah. But this picture was how many years ago now?
26.
26 years.
No, almost 27. Yeah, almost 27.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, Doug, when you met Stacy that evening, you knew you were going to marry her and you told her so.
Yep.
He says
she believed in love at first sight.
Apparently you did too.
Oh, I did for sure.
No, yeah. I didn't know. I thought he no. I didn't. But we ended up
asked me what I thought.
We ended up going on a date the next morning.
And then she was hooked, baby.
Yeah, he had a Harley, and I got to go riding on the Harley with him, and it was so that was it.
That is hysterical, and I think it was 2 weeks after you met that you got married.
Well, not that fast.
He asked me to marry him 2 weeks, but then we got married 2 months after that.
October we met, in December we got married, same year.
Yep.
Wow. And it seems to have worked out.
I think so.
No turning back now.
Yeah, that's right.
No. Well, you guys are a good match for one another. The first time I ever saw you was at one of the first Homesteaders of America events in Warrenton, Virginia. Yeah. And I remember just watching you, Doug, going, wow. You're kind of a larger than life character, and you were just making people laugh everywhere you went. And you were
we are people.
You are.
I remember when I met you too. Yeah, it was good because I was like so happy to find you. You know, I wanted Western Price so bad too at the time.
Yeah, we'd already know their books and the studies.
So it was like everything aligned in perfect alignment.
Yes, I know. I remember that very well. And I saw you another time or two before I said, okay, I'll come to one of your events because you'd asked me a couple of times. And I was thinking Missouri in August. That sounds miserable. But I went and I was hooked.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
No, we always had pretty good weather. Yeah. It wasn't too bad for the conferences. Yeah.
No, it really wasn't. It definitely wasn't bad. And the conferences are so good that, as I said, I was hooked from that first one. I don't think I've missed one since the first.
No.
Yeah, been at every one. So
we're just a month away from the Homesteading Life Conference.
And she'll talk about that too. Yeah.
A month.
Yeah. Yep, that's coming up. I'm excited. I have a busy month of May, and that is right smack dab in the middle. So my daughter, who's due to have a baby on the 9th, either has to have it a few days early or wait for another week or week and a half. Yep. So I'm talking to that baby in her belly and saying, you better not mess with this. No,
I know you're excited though.
Well, I am excited about that, but I'm excited about your event as well. And all of the other things we have coming up. Seeking Whole Health also is the first weekend of May, and our event next week. But yours is a really big, fun, interesting, informative event. And that's why I like it so much. And a couple of your regular attendees are on. So hello, Tambray. Hello, Carmen.
Hello,
guys. How are you?
Yep. Faithful attendees there.
Big fans.
Yes.
Yep. And they're
like
excited.
Family, really.
Yeah, we've known them for many years.
It feels like family. And I love that aspect. I really, really like that. So I want to get started talking about your life and the changes that you made. You went from being clean and I won't say prim and proper, but I mean, you had a Harley, Doug, so you couldn't have been too straight-laced. But you certainly were not an off-grid homesteader with your hat and your beard and all of that. You guys had careers in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The area there, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in the suburbs of St. Louis.
Okay. And I know, Stacy, you worked in daycare, and Doug, you had an office job, no?
No, Stacy had a teaching job where she worked with Montessori schools.
So I did physical education and health at Montessori schools, as well as I taught group exercise classes at health clubs, as well as personal trained for 30 years. So I did that for a long time.
She worked with seniors on the senior silver sneakers.
I did, yeah. I taught a lot of classes.
Yeah.
So
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And Doug, you did
I
what?
had a lawn care landscape business.
Okay. So you had dirt under your fingernails, but not quite in the same way that you eventually, when you made the change. So we're looking at this picture of this beautiful cabin. Tell us how the cabin came to be, first of all. And how did you end up there in rural Missouri?
So we just kind of basically took a compass thing and drew a circle around 1 hour worth of car commuting because Stacy was still going to work, and I retired basically at like 40, I guess it was like 42 or 3 or whatever it was, 16 years ago. And then so she still went to work and I stayed up there, but we didn't know we were going to be in that log cabin right there. We didn't know if we were going to live in a fifth wheel trailer or shed house or whatever.
Well, at first we really wanted to, before that, we knew we wanted to make this change because we wanted, my health wasn't doing very good.
That was the main driver.
Anxious, go. I wanted to know where my food came from. I wanted to raise my animals, all that stuff. Get the toxins out of our life. So basically we left.
And I had the lawn care landscape business and nobody wants to work. That was 16 years ago. It's even worse now. So I didn't want to do the Mexican program. So I just decided to just chuck it all in. And I was just going to grow the food while she went to work. And we were going to live on a super minimal income and then just rock it.
So we sold everything. We owned everything except for, we always say, our couch, futon couch. And the coffee table.
Yep.
And we moved into a one bedroom apartment.
Yep.
Coming from like a 3,500 square foot house and all that. We just did that at the time when we were looking for a property. And then we lived in the apartment and we found the property. Like you said, we put the compass down just as long as I didn't have to drive more than an hour. But we ended up having to drive a little more than an hour. But
we went up north too because the temperatures are cooler and they have better dirt. In Missouri, the more south you go, the rockier it gets.
So we went up north. Yeah. So that's what we did.
Rockier and hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a huge difference from our temperature.
Degrees,
it could be anywhere. Yeah. From like 7 to 10 degrees difference from St. Louis area to where we are.
Wow.
And in August, that really matters.
Yes, I know. As I told you, that's what I was thinking. Missouri in August, man, that sounds miserable, but it's not miserable. It wasn't miserable. And besides that, now it's May. Yeah, I'm sure that the weather's beautiful there in May. So you found this property then, I think it's 11 acres.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're proving you can do a lot on 11 acres of land because you even built your house from.
Yeah. No carpentry skills. I was watching some old Western movies, got it all together, and there it is.
Yeah, basically, honestly, that is just really good. You know, if you look at those old Westerns and a lot of these old shows that were in black and white, that wasn't that far off during that time, you know, and they have a lot of the stuff you could look about how they lighted, different things that they used. You get a lot of ideas. So we used to watch a lot of like Westerns. We have like the DVDs and we would watch, you know, at the time. So it worked out really well. And then at that time,
and we had a book too. The Time Life series books are like the 1800s or something. They're like leather bound books Stacy had. So I started diving into those, and I was like, wow, look at all this stuff. They were living in grass houses where they took the sod and made houses out of the sod.
Yeah.
I said, we're not doing that. But we could probably do this wood log cabin, man. It seems like it's pretty easy to do. So that's what we did.
Yeah, because at first we were going to get a fifth wheel and we wanted to travel. And then we're going to get a fifth wheel and live on the property. But then we found that we could build this log cabin much cheaper than getting a fifth wheel. Yeah. So that's kind of what he did. Is I still worked in the apartment and he had a tent up at the property and he lived in a tent. And basically just lived out there and worked all week and send me pictures with the dogs. Yeah.
I had them every
And then on the weekends I would come up and help.
Okay.
And then he built it. He started building it in July. And then we knew we had to be under roof before winter. Yeah. And then October. No, I remember when I came home. And I came to live there full time in October. So it went July to October. He built this cabin all by himself.
Wow.
Couple friends. Yeah. He did have a few friends helping.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he did most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an interior photo of the cabin, which I found on Tiny House. What is it? Tiny. I watched.
Yeah. Tiny Homes. Yeah.
Oh, with
we were on that episode.
Bryce. Yeah.
Bryce and
Ross. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize you'd been on there, but that's where I found this picture. So there you go.
They had a great camera too. Look at that picture.
That is a good picture. I like it. I have a little video. I didn't put it in here, but Stacy sent me a video of the interior, but then I saw this and it's just such a good photo. It captures the coziness, the whole house, the warmth. Well,
so big.
I will tell you, like, it is really something to go from like all these rooms and multiple bathrooms and to just like, boom, one room.
Yeah.
And I'll never want to have a big house ever again. Yeah. No, ever. Because you don't spend any time. You only, it's so true. It's in the kitchen or just like in like a living area. That's it. Yeah, and then you go to bed and sleep. And then, you know, we can talk about that too. Like from us moving out there, our health started getting better and better and better. You know, like we can talk about sleep and how living out where we live.
No artificial lights, no street lights.
Nothing. So it was dark when we went to bed.
We actually saw stars, and we were like, "What are those things up there?"
You can see all of them. But our sleep was really good.
Yeah, really. Our circadian rhythm got back in check.
Yeah, because our circadian rhythm was.
I remember one time when we were fresh out there and stuff, and I was doing my work, you know, and it was kind of winter time, and I came in, and I'm like, "Man, I'm pretty tired, you know, I think I'm going to go to bed." And it was dark, you know what I mean? And so Stacy was like, "What do you mean you're going to bed? It's like 5:30. I said, "I don't care. It's dark outside. I'm tired and I'm just going to go to bed." And I did.
Yeah. That's really the way we're made to live anyway. And I'd love to live that life. I often feel at 5 o'clock or 5:30 that I'd really like to go to bed and just sleep until the morning. Yeah. But that's how people used to live. And you talk about circadian rhythm. Modern life really massively disrupts our circadian rhythm.
Yeah, it's on purpose.
Oh, it sure does. I mean, it's just everything is backward to how we're supposed to be. You know, people are so stressed out, go all the time. You know, that saying, "Stop and smell the roses." I mean, really, people need to start doing that more because our nervous systems aren't meant to be going all the time. You know, we need to take that time.
And all this instant access too. You used to come home and check your voicemails and call the people back you wanted to, but now it's like you're hanging on every little second. Is my phone going to ring? Am I going to miss a text?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
me calling you frantically. Oh my gosh, I can't get on.
There are good things about technology
Yes.
and there are not so good.
Yeah, you
That's
can't let
true.
it run you. You got to run it.
No, really, we have
Yeah.
to, I think, just like you give your kids parameters about doing stuff, I think as adults, we all need to start doing that because it's really running our lives and it's way too much, way too much.
Yeah, I've definitely recognized that in my own life. So I'm with you. I've been cutting down on everything, but I still have electric hookup and we do have Wi-Fi. I'd love to have a house where the house is wired instead of Wi-Fi.
I ordered my Ethernet cable yesterday.
Okay. Where are you?
I'm going to wire up my house to because we have a modem so we can do these videos and stuff. So I'm going to hardwire it too. I've been using it on Wi-Fi, but I'm not doing it no more.
Yeah. Well, I think you're very wise in that. That's what I would like to do as well. So in our next house, which is coming.
That's right.
It's coming.
Right after you travel in your RV.
I think there's going to be an RV next year. So I have to be patient, but I don't have to be quite as patient as I thought I had to be. So yeah.
That's all you get.
So, but at your place, and I'm going to bring this picture up.
And sorry for all y'all watching. We're in our truck because our reception was horrible at the house today for some reason. It took me an hour almost to upload a video.
More than that, all morning.
So we had to come out here to the city area, and we're in our truck so we could get a better signal and stuff.
Well, it's working, so don't even worry about it. Besides that, I have lots of good pictures to show, including this one. So you built your house, it's off grid. You don't have electric running from power lines. You also don't have city water or even well water. You have a rain catchment system, right?
Right.
Yes. And that
can you imagine, like, when we moved out there, I had to sign this paper, right, that said that he had already gave the water company the rights to go through the land to put the pipe in, And so right when we moved out there, it wasn't like but a couple months or something, they came and knocking and wanted to know if we wanted a meter for the water out there. And we said, no, we don't want no meter. And they were like putting the pressure on us like, well, if you wait for this meter, it's going to cost you more money. And then you're still going to have to pay that monthly fee every month and everything. I'm like, I don't think we're going to need that meter, bro. So they actually put the pipe in right in our yard and everything. I fought them too. I said, you can't put that pipe in my yard. And they were like, oh no, you signed that document when you bought this place. And so, they put that water pipe in. Everybody out in the country, it's the craziest thing, but they just wanted to have that rural city water like nobody's business. A lot of them got off their wells just so they could have the city water.
And then most of them are like so mad. They're like, oh, this is terrible. I wish I would have never done it. That's what most everyone says. And now they're sitting around us. A lot of the Amish are getting it, and then they are really not liking it.
It's crazy.
Because all of them either would have a well or they would have rainwater catchment. Most of them had rainwater catchment, didn't they?
And we have 3,000 gallons of rainwater catchment, and we never run dry in our area. We get about 42 inches of rain every year.
And then that picture that you see there is on the back of our outside kitchen. And
that's our shower.
We have an outdoor shower, so that collects the rainwater from the roof of our outside kitchen, and then we have a gravity-fed outside shower, and it's around the corner. You can't really see it.
That's for the summertime use. We don't use that in the wintertime.
Okay. All right.
We have to drain it in the winter because it'll mess everything up. So,
I have a question about the rainwater catchment. With all of the spraying in the skies, is there something you can do to filter some of that out?
I mean, we got our Berkey, we got the pleated filters, charcoal filters. I mean, we're just doing the best that we can, but
we
structure it. We do rain dances over it. I mean, I don't know. Like, this is bad news. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think people really are grasping the gravity of this situation.
We try. We talk. I mean, I talk to people. Sometimes I have rather heated discussions, and I just have to kind of back off because the evidence, the proof is there. It's not a secret.
Sure.
No, there's 32 states now trying, banning it. So if it's on it's getting on the books, it's becoming more mainstream. But that's still like they're still doing it, and they're talking about like SNAP benefits and stuff. Like, I'm not worried about SNAP benefits.
No,
I'm worried about the air that I breathe.
and the water that you drink.
Well, that's
And
Yeah.
important. I know
Right.
air and water are huge, and that's what they're
Let
really
me
coming after.
breathe the air.
yeah, but I've thought about with the rainwater catchment system, I have thought you just can't get away from the yuck.
I mean, pretty much, right? I mean, even your city water, the water falls into there from the sky too. It's everywhere. So, I mean, well water will seep in there.
So we
And all
just
the
have
other
to do the,
chemicals. You got to stay
wow.
detox, keep your liver in check, stay spiritually fit, stay vigilant, do the best you can with the circumstances you find yourself in.
Yeah, well, and especially like with the water situation, you know, once you get your water and then you clean it. So like we have the Berkey. We have our 2 filters, but it goes through the Berkey. But then I structure it. So that's going to change it. It's going to, you know, oxygenate it and all that. And then that way your cells will absorb the good water. And then if any toxins or whatever comes in, they'll just go right out your body through your digestive tract.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's talk for a moment about structured water. I want to talk about the homestead and how it's affected your lives as a whole. But water is such an important part, and the structured water is something that most people are also not familiar with. I understand that the Berkey partially structures water, but structured water is water the way it is in nature.
yes, like coming from a spring
Like our
down the rock.
rainwater was very good in structured water for all these years. And in the last like 5 years, they stepped up to spraying like crazy. So now it's not as
Yeah.
good. But
Well, and also once you structure, like we have big tanks.
Yeah.
So once it's sat in there for a while, you know, you need to restructure it again. So the one thing is, like you say, it comes from nature. So
Yeah.
when it comes down the mountains and it's on the rocks, and there's ways that we can get around. You can buy structure units, of course. But also nature, like you can say, can structure it. So like a lot of people will, you can get a crystals, you know, quartz or something like that. You can put salt in it. You know, you can stir it, swirl it around maybe 10, 15 times one way, 10, 15 times the other way. That can help structure, put it out in the sun. But doing all those things and just saying a kind word, because the water has memory. So, you know,
It
when
all
you have
sounds woo-woo to people who are unfamiliar with it, totally unfamiliar. So I don't want people to think, wow, this is really weird. No, this is actually water. The
science,
way
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, golly, even your Bible say the rocks cry out,
Yeah.
right? Like everything has life and life force. This isn't woo woo, but I know it's a lot of it's doctrine from the pulpit that makes you say it's woo woo, but it's
Yeah.
not. Everything is harmonious and works together. It's Most High's
Yeah.
design. It's beautiful.
Yep. It is cool. I love it. So moving on from just water in and of itself, there is this, most people would have a hard time. Used to
before we
have,
go on, there's a really good book. It's called The Hidden Messages of Water by Emoto.
In water.
oh, okay, I've
Hidden
heard that one.
Messages in Water, and the last name is Emoto, Emoto.
Okay.
And that's a really good book. People can see, because like
She's just got her toilet up next.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the
Yeah,
toilet in a minute.
We'll go
But
back
like
to the
in the book, it's very cool because I have pictures of the molecular structure of water.
Yeah.
And like they did things like if you literally have the water samples and then you like, I hate you, you're the worst thing in the world, and then even talk to it and say, you know, I love you, you could see what happens to the water. It's just incredible.
It vibrates, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the energy coming from us into the water.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
We're all energy beings. That's why
fascinating.
this 5G and 6G, that's why this stuff's affecting everybody. And tinnitus is up and anxiety is up.
Yeah.
Sleeplessness is up. These frequencies are messing with our bodies. It's big
They
time.
really are. We're going to be talking about that at our
Another
event.
benefit of moving out here in the country is they don't have it
Yeah.
so saturated. You know what I mean?
Oh, we were just a few weeks ago, we went to look at a beautiful 26-acre piece of property that our daughter was considering for she and her husband to buy. And it's just sort of a knoll in the middle of 26 acres of mountains and ravines. When I step out into an environment like that, and your house is the same when I was there, there's literally a different energetic feeling.
Yes. Fact.
You breathe and just relax. It's so different. That's why I
Well,
really
even the sounds of nature. I mean, we could talk about so much.
It's the Ethernet, the real stuff.
Yeah, and then when you have the animals, like their birds start chirping, the rooster starts crowing, that's waking up. It's alerting the trees.
So good
It's
for your
time to
body.
wake up. Our day is starting, and everything is just coming alive. And
that's
it's
why
just
they
all part of
stole
it.
us away from that stuff and put us in these concrete jungles.
And then
to
they want
disconnect us.
15-minute cities.
Yeah, to disconnect us from all this nature and all this love.
Yeah, I can't stand the thought of that. I just
You will not comply.
exactly.
That's what we say in our last live show. We will not comply.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about the toilet.
Well, it's, it's just one part. When I first came to your house, though, you didn't have this composting toilet. You had. Tell us about what you used to have.
Well, no, this is our first one. And then we got that. So a friend of ours found that and thought it would be so funny. Yeah. But I
liked it.
No, it was awesome. Yeah. But the problem is
But that's how everybody had it back in the day. That's why they made those chairs, because everybody just pooped in their little, what do they call them? Chambers?
Chamber pots. But this had some wicker rattan on it, and it kind of got all messed up. Yeah, but it was different. But this is just a basic
box and bucket.
It's a box with a toilet seat on it with a 5-gallon bucket, and then next to it you see I have a little scooper with some sawdust. And
so look, the bottom line is, when you really want to do something, like when you're committed to doing stuff, like you'll find ways. Like you don't say, "Oh, I can't do that." You find out. You say, "How can I do that?" So when we were looking out there, like, okay, we built our cabin, but we don't have any water and we don't have any electricity. How are we going to handle our poop? Right. So then it was like, holy cow. So then I got on this big hunt. I got to go down all these rabbit holes. So then I find out about the composting toilet. Been around for thousands of years. Wow. And I found this Jenkins guy who wrote a book on it. And he's like an expert about it, kind of.
The human or handle.
I think I've been doing it better and longer than him now. But that's how that happened, because you know what? We went out there, we sold everything we had, and we were only operating on cash. We did not want to take on any debt because we were living on a tight budget. And so it was like septic system, $20,000, $30,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever it is, plus maintenance and pumping out and all this. And so I was like, we can't afford that either, right? So what are we going to do? And man, does this worked out so good for us. And if you don't want to compost it, it's perfectly legal for you just to take it and dump it in the trash can at a trash can place.
Well, they put diapers. You know what I mean?
Because it's just human excrement. It's totally biodegradable.
And you do the same thing with cat litter. So it should matter.
No problem. Yeah, but people are programmed to waste water.
And the thing is
and poop and porcelain.
If you are going to do that, because you could put, and we did this too. We've tried everything. You could put biodegradable liners in there.
Didn't like them.
And then you just click them. Well, if you don't get good ones, they'll
break on you.
So
you don't want that. You don't want that. We did this
before. So
we got stories to tell. But if you guys are just watching and you don't know about this, after we go in this bucket, we put it in a compost pile, right, for 1 year, and then we let it set for 1 year. So it's a 2-year process or longer if you're paranoid. And then you can take that stuff and put it on your garden. It makes the most richest, bestest compost.
Just FYI, you don't want to be taking hardcore medicine, pharmaceuticals, or anything.
If you're on pharmaceuticals, just put it around your non-edibles, around your house, your decorative plants, your trees, stuff like that.
Yeah. And then it's very, very, very simple. Like the first year I was like freaked out. I mean, we didn't do it for 4 years. We didn't use and then after that, it just degrades to this beautiful soil. And I do a lot of experiments, and you'll try to put that on one pile of plants and then put other stuff like animal manure on the other one. And usually our manure always would be pretty good. Yeah.
That's neat. I also understand that with composting, it does break down most of the chemicals, but I'm sure not all. Yeah. So composting. There's a state park in Pennsylvania that has composting toilets.
Most of them are.
Oh, really? In state park?
They have tubes coming out of the ground, and then all your poop goes down there, and it just kind of festers. And then they come by every once in a while and throw some, enzymes, stuff. Some enzymes and stuff in there, and then it just kind of naturally breaks it all down.
A lot of Amish, they have that.
Yeah.
A lot of Amish have that too.
Well, it's a problem we've had since the first human beings, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a problem. We just
No. Not
But
at
they
all.
just, they just basically monopolized it and monetized it. So now you got to pay for the water, you got to pay for the porcelain, pay.
Well, the amount of water, it's so crazy. When we started doing this, when I would go someplace, like I'd go visit my aunt and spend the night, and all the water that people, because
we became super aware
of how much water you waste.
Because we talked about our rainwater catchment system, but we didn't get that for years when we first moved out there. We were hauling water, snatching it anywhere we could. So we became very aware of how much water two people need to cook and live.
Yeah, because we didn't have our 3,000 gallons in the beginning. It was many years, and I hauled it, and I knew how much. I always say he took 2 gallons of water to take a shower. I took a gallon to take a shower, and then I knew how much I needed. So many gallons a week to do dishes. I mean, it was crazy, And then you go and people just leave their faucet running all the time when they do dishes. I mean, still, we have plenty of water, but I'm very conscientious. Yeah. I'll turn the water on, turn it off, because it's like how much people waste.
Yeah,
it is a precious commodity.
We're consumers, man. We've been brought up to be just consumers, throwaway consumers.
Yeah.
We've had wells that have gone dry or that just didn't have a lot of flow. And so we've always had to be concerned and conscientious as well, but not quite to the same degree.
Yeah.
But it is astounding. And I have actually flooded the kitchen prep sink, leaving it on. Yeah.
Stacy left our water on too and drained all of our tanks. And I left it on too just the other day. I didn't want to go. He just did it. And I did it just a little while ago. For 2 weeks we had hot water. But it took me 16 years to do it. You did it kind of right off. And
it's like 4 years ago. I didn't do it that long ago.
Well, it'll happen, and we know that'll happen.
It does, yeah.
I hope you didn't drain.
It keeps your mind sharp too, like all this non-push button stuff we live in now. It keeps our mind sharp. We have to think about things. We have to make sure, double check.
Yeah, because systems have to be you have to look at all the weather conditions. If you look and I see a storm coming, we need to make sure like the wood is covered. You got to make sure in the winter that you have wood in the back of your stove. You have to really be prepared about this. All these little things that we're so used to not having to take care of. You got to make sure everything is right. Did I turn this off? Do I have my water ready to collect the rainwater catchment? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And so you really have to think about things. You got to think about the seasons, what you need to do. Like in the winter, we have to make sure that we have the water all drained so the faucets don't, break. When we collect our rainwater off all of our outdoor buildings, like a lot of times for the animals too. So, there's just a lot more you have to do. You just have to really be kind of more into the moment.
You have to live life.
Yeah, you really have to be in it.
And that's why it's improving your health all the time, because you're actively physically.
And we're outside all the time.
Yeah.
We're outside. Yeah. So we're getting the morning.
Yeah.
Morning light, because your most healing is in the morning. We get the afternoon sunshine, even if it's not sunny, it doesn't make a difference. Even in the evening. Yeah, even if the chemtrails are covering the sun, at least you're outside, you're getting, because it helps the circadian rhythms. We need to get that because we are beings that need the sun, just like a plant, we need it. So, and being out makes a huge difference just on your nervous system and on your health and on your sleep, helping with melatonin, helping with your pineal gland, just all this stuff we need to be outside. So that's one thing we talk about, and being barefoot too. Like we would go barefoot all the time, grounding with the earth, getting rid of, helping to eliminate the EMF exposure that we're having along with just everything else. So we were doing all this stuff, not knowing we were doing this stuff at the time. And we were getting healthier and healthier. His nervous system was getting better. My health was getting better, because your body is self-healing, self-regulating, and it will repair itself and it will get better. You just got to give it time. Your body wants to be healthy.
Yeah. So we have to stop making it unhealthy, stop doing the things that that provide disease, and instead do the things that provide health, which you're doing. And you've seen here we go. I got it. Oh, why is it not playing?
It's on there. I see my laundry, my clothesline and my washing machine.
Yeah. The washing machine. Speaking of being talking about water and physical activity, this is how you do your laundry. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that rocker washer. And then my clothesline like spins around. Now our first clothesline, we had to move it. I just had the long clothesline. Nothing smells better than clothes on the line. And
Yeah.
you know, there's also something to be said about that. When you put your clothes in the dryer, it kind of destroys the fibers and stuff on the clothing. So the clothing does last longer, and it is better for the fibers on your skin, as well as the smell, the sunlight, all that is so much more rewarding. And then, of course, none of us here use all these chemical-laden detergents, I hope, on your clothes, you know.
No bounce.
Yeah, no bounce or anything like that, because it's not good for your endocrine system or anything like that. So I just, you know, I make my own laundry detergent. I love hanging my clothes out. It's just, you know, I've learned so much in this experience how when you are part of something, you know, when I'm part of growing my food, I'm a part of making my food, I'm a part of washing my clothes, I'm a part of all this stuff. It just makes it so much more rewarding and eventful, and it's just really, really cool. But I like to do the laundry. I like to hang it out on the line. It's wonderful. I don't do it all the time. If it's a bad, really yucky day, I'll go to the laundromat in town. So, but it's just very, you know, I'm part of the process. And so it really makes it cool. I like it.
Yeah, I like that too. And I miss having the laundry line. But the other thing that you mentioned that you do is grow your own food. And when you're growing your own food, I love your garden. You're walking barefoot in the dirt also, or on the stones, as your paths are stones, I think.
Part of them. We
took it out because it wasn't that good. The rocks were too big, really.
They were hurting our feet, so I get them on the
over a long-term thing. We figured out it's best to just use the fabric, so we got the fabric.
Last year we just changed it to that cloth. Yeah.
But yeah, it's fantastic. You're out there, your fingers are in the dirt, your feet are in the dirt, you're walking out there, sun shining, seeing the fruit of your labor. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing the stuff come up and produce you food. By the sweat of our brows, we're out there eating.
And after this podcast, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I don't have enough time left for today, but I've got some things going already. But here's a picture of just a short period of time. I mean, that is a tremendous amount of food.
Yeah.
And you're mostly fermenting. Most of those vessels are fermented, right?
No, that's fermented.
We do not can anything. Canning kills. We are fermenters.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that you brought that up. And I have an ongoing sort of feud going with somebody in Ohio at another event that
send it my way.
If you have any good studies, send them my way too, because I'm going to see them again in a short time. I'm speaking at their event again in Ohio, and I was in the doghouse last year because I said you really need to ferment your vegetables or dry, but not can, because it destroys nutrients.
Fermenting's been around thousands of years. Canning is 100 years old. People can die from canning, and no one has ever gotten sick from fermenting. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They only came up with canning because all the dudes were off at war and all the produce came in to be harvested. So all the ladies got together and they did this great big canning process. And they were like, you know, Rockefeller and Rothschild were like, oh, we can monetize this shit. And they got on it and started making the canned and processed foods. That's only how that stuff came about. Folks, the grocery stores are barely 100 years old in this country. No one went to grocery stores till just recently.
Really, supermarkets, they started in the late 1930s.
And a lot of people shunned them at first. You know what I mean? Like, this has been a couple generations working on us to get lazy. And so the food that is not filling you up with good nutrients and bacteria, and that's why people are overweight and lethargic and, you know, sickly.
Yeah. Well, I remember. Go ahead.
No, you can finish what you're saying, Maureen.
Just that when sauerkraut was replaced with canned vegetables on ocean-going vessels in the mid to late 1800s, scurvy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sauerkraut.
That's healthy right there. It's dead
Yeah.
food. They're eating. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I'm going to try, I'll tell you a new recipe for any of you guys.
And we learned that when we went to Alaska about the scurvy. That was pretty cool.
Well, so it was really cool. I'm going to do a new sauerkraut. I can't wait to do it, where you just do the salt with the, cabbage, like your green cabbage. But on the very bottom, it looks so pretty. Just get some colored hot peppers and you just slice the seeds out, or you can keep the seeds in and just put a layer of the peppers at the bottom and then pack the cabbage on top. And I'm like, that was so simple. And I do all these, I mix them all up in there, but it was really good. And I thought, I'm going to do that. And it tasted great. So I'm going to try that one.
Good.
So maybe you guys might want to try that. You just put whole peppers. I cut the stems off at the bottom and then put your cabbage and salt on top.
And then, so the flavor bubbles up because fermentation produces lots of effervescence.
Yeah. So that's like, I can't wait to try that one. I'm going to do that one. So that'll be fun.
That sounds good. We're finishing off some apple carrot kraut right now, and one of the girls had an upset. Actually, our pregnant daughter had an upset stomach just about 2 days ago. I said, well, I always say I've got the sauerkraut. So she ate a small bowl of sauerkraut and came up in a little while and said, oh, I feel so much better now.
Yeah. It does anything fermented. If you kind of have upset stomach, apple cider vinegar, a little kombucha, a little bit of ginger beer, or, a little bit of sauerkraut or something, or just the juice, do a shot of juice. It really makes a huge difference. It really does.
We usually use the brine. Yeah. And I make my ferments extra wet so I can have extra brine.
Me too. I'm the same way. I like to have as much as I can. I keep pouring it in my sauerkraut when it's bubbling up because I like the juice. That's like gold, liquid gold.
Yep, me too. That's how I feel about it. So I always have plenty. Yep. I dished some out yesterday to share, but I've got to get another batch or two going. So, but the picture of the vegetables is in your outdoor kitchen, which is, I know, I've told you that's my favorite part of your property is that outdoor kitchen. I love it. So you're using the kitchen in the, I guess, 3 seasons to do almost everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's great.
We cook in there, we process in there, we eat in there. We sleep in there.
No, it's great.
In August, we sleep in there because it's cooler and it's screened in, so we could sleep in there and avoid the bugs a little bit.
Yeah, well, I really like it. It's beautiful. It's what I'd love to have one day. So I'm working on it.
And again, I just built that on the fly. I stuck some 4x4 posts in the ground and put it all together. Almost died doing the concrete work. Had almost
it was so hot.
Exhaustion.
Yeah, it was hot.
But it's another fun project that I just whipped together out there.
Yeah,
it's bigger than our house.
It's bigger than our house.
Your house does have a loft, so
yeah,
just a bedroom upstairs so we can sleep in. That's all it's got.
Yeah. But it's conveniently attached to the garden, so it all makes sense. Now, I like it. I really think it is my favorite part. And then, so you're raising chickens and you're raising lamb and
turkeys and guineas and ducks.
Honey. There's honey.
Yeah, we got our babies.
Yep, there's the honey. You've got all kinds of things going, but you're outside actively working, growing, raising, producing food, and in touch with nature all the time. And so in your lifestyle change where you're getting down and dirty, I just think it's a wonderful story that you have even unintended consequences of improved health, things that you didn't realize. So I'm not suggesting that everybody who listens to us needs to go live off grid. But if you're inclined, it's worth looking into, isn't it?
Well,
at least read the book Dirty Electricity or The Invisible Rainbow.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't have to be off grid, or just be more in tune to where your food is coming from. At the grocery store, when you go to the produce department, it averaged like 1,500 miles. It gets there, it's going to lose its nutritional value. Go to your farmer's market, shop locally, be more intentional about what you're putting in your mouth and what you're eating. and knowing where it comes from, because it's going to be more nutrient dense. I keep, know all this, but I'm just, it's just so important to be part of the process of doing things like cooking from scratch, trying not to eat out all the time. All these little things will start to change and move the needle, getting more movement, maybe going out for a walk in the morning when the sun is coming up and an evening when the sun is going down. Just those things, getting that beautiful light that you're getting, morning and evening light, and you're getting activity, just doing little subtle changes like that, adding some fermented foods to your diet, sitting in a chair with your feet barefoot, in the grass or on the concrete. Something like that is going to be so,
sprouts.
Yeah. Growing sprouts or microgreens or something like that, getting these nutrients.
So you can improve your situation even if you're in a 1-bedroom apartment and can't afford to do anything.
Anybody can do it.
We have truck drivers that don't have any dirt, and they're telling us how they're doing microgreens in their truck.
Sure.
So they can get a little more healthy food. Yeah. I mean, you can do it. You know what I mean? You
just have to, pick something and start with doing it, or maybe, changing the water you're drinking, not drinking city
no more
water
tap
anymore.
water, right?
Yeah.
Just commit. You know what I mean? You got to commit.
Yeah. That's it. Little changes will get you there.
There's actually a website, back to the water and the spring thing, findaspring.com.
Yeah. I think it's .com. Yeah. And then they'll show you where all the springs are around your area. Yep.
Yeah. And you want to know, even in case there's a disaster and you can't turn on the tap for water.
Well, when we went to Kentucky, we have some Amish friends. We were visiting them, and she's like, "Oh, and they brought their bottles, and everyone goes and fills up their water. So if you're lucky enough to be close to a spring, that's where you want to go and get some water."
Yeah, and there usually is a spring somewhere within at least driving distance. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we used to do that too when we lived in Pennsylvania.
But it's not convenient.
People are too stuck on convenient, aren't they?
They are.
But like once a month, if you need to drive a little bit to go to the local Amish or Mennonite or a farmer's market someplace that's a little far away, or if there's a spring you want to drive and it takes 45 minutes, an hour, I get some 5-gallon containers and fill them up. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. Water's not going to go bad. If you do this and do your food once a month, there's a lot of people that just go like, you can just go to the store once a month and just try to get yourself into that kind of habit.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that's what I always do.
It.
Yes, we can. The thing is, people are working so much in order to have all of the conveniences and the big houses and all of that. But
it kind of goes back to that trick, how they got the wife out of the house, right? And what does she do? She goes to the job and takes orders from some other dude. You know what I mean? Like the nucleus of the family was the first move. Like they busted that up so good. Like, man, we got to get back to our traditional roles, our traditional families, our values.
And that's what, like, we can get into that too. Like, with us doing what we're doing, we have to work together. Yeah. It's made us closer.
We are literally for 16 years been at the hip 24/7. Like hardly any couples do that. You know what I mean? Like,
and you go to work,
you come home a couple times each other. Well, we've just been through a lot too, and we've tested our stuff. Like we're tried and tested, but just imagine being with your spouse for 16 years, almost 24/7.
But like going through hard times, and then you have to figure ways to fix things and do this. It makes you closer, and our relationship is totally different now than when we first got married. The first half, I mean, it's totally different because you do have to work with one another. Or let's say you're a person doing this by yourself.
Yeah.
You will feel very empowered to know that you are able to make your own food. Like we had gardens that didn't work. We had things that didn't work. We had a lot of problems.
We had our garden flood out. We had our garden dry out.
Yeah.
We've had all kinds of drama.
Too much rain, so everything got yellow.
That's why they made stores.
Yeah. I mean, but you need to know that you are strong and that you are empowered and that you can do this. And if stuff doesn't work, you have neighbors or friends that maybe can help out or whatever. But I mean,
and that's a big part of it. And you guys have done this as well. You build community, and community. Yes. When you have that, you help each other.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll never leave your place. You'll be a slave to it all the time.
Yeah.
Or with the internet, a lot of people, we always say a lot of people think you're crazy doing what we're doing. Because, people that watch you, people that watch us, it seems like there's a lot of these people, but, in actuality, we're more of a minority, right? So a lot of people feel like I'm the only one like this. But then when you find people in your community that believes the same thing you do, people contact each other. They're on these things. They're talking to one another. They're exchanging emails, and everyone does have a community, even if you're living in Australia or somewhere in the UK. And so that's what's cool too about this.
Yeah,
I think talk to people if they need help.
When we were homesteading in Pennsylvania, our closest friends were church members initially, but they all thought we were nuts, and they would make jokes about us, and they weren't mean-spirited, but it felt that way sometimes.
We had mean-spirited. The Amish were making things about us. They had a whole rumor going around that we were actually fugitives from the law. And they were telling people that we were running from the police and stuff. It was crazy down here.
Yeah. Wow. But now you have built a sound community with them.
Oh,
so I had to take my feed over there. We dropped all of our IDs on the table. We're like, no, seriously, this is who we are.
They thought he was somebody else.
They were like taking bets how long we were. Not that I was someone else.
No,
that I just wasn't me, right? Yeah. Not that I was like some dude that they knew was on the run, but they literally came up with fake names for me and Stacy, and then they had this whole story going around that we were running from the police. But yeah, we took all our IDs over there and squashed all that stuff, and we have developed a really good relationship over there with all of them. They were saying like, why are you coming? Why do you want to have no electricity? Like nobody does that. Why are you doing that? Yeah. You're never going to make it. You're never going to make it. You guys will be out of here. They were taking bets on us. Yeah. They were taking bets on us. You'll be out of here in a year.
And now 16 years later, you're still
the boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we make a joke about it. I look more Amish than some of those Amish dudes.
Oh, you have a mustache.
Yeah, my mustache now. Before, for sure.
But they don't run around barefooted like you do. So they
not the old guys. The kids do. The old guys always look at me funny and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, why aren't you guys barefooted? You guys did this all when you were a kid. And now all of a sudden you're too snubby to go barefooted.
They're working a lot. The women and the kids all go barefooted all the time.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
They're funny. We built good relationships with the Amish and the Mennonite as well. And then we started a Weston A. Price chapter, and people came from near and far, from every walk of life too. And we had a great community, and we'd get together and do things more often sometimes than we did with our church group.
Well, you'd have a bit more in common with them.
A lot more in common.
Totally. Because I could talk about, we talk about recipes, we talk about the garden. Oh no, I go and hang out and visit with the Amish. I don't visit with other like English people. Yeah. I go visit with the Amish and I can spend hours just talking to them. Yeah. Totally.
Because you understand each other better. Because your life is so different, and different in a very positive way. So I think that's wonderful.
Oh, I was also going to say, like, even when we first worked out, we were talking about our health and being dirtier and, not having, we did take a shower every single day before people used to take a shower.
My mom drilled that into our heads when we were kids. You got to have a shower every day, morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. Can't go to bed dirty.
Oh, man.
And, washing your hair every day. I mean, your skin gets better, everything about it, you don't need to, unless, I'm sweating to death and I got dirt all over me, and just rinse off. You don't need to use soap all over your beautiful microbiome.
There's a caveat here. If you're living on processed food and in the city and doing all that stuff, when you first get out here and you go to this kind of lifestyle, you're going to be stinky for a little bit because your body's going to be pushing all that stuff out. And then you'll get over that greasy hair, stinky stuff. And then you'll get to the promised land of how your body's supposed to be.
And the other thing is, Doug used to kind of have some kind of like allergies a little bit too. Even being out here, and there's studies done with the Amish where with them being around all the dust and dander and the animals and all that all the time, that they don't have asthma or anything like that. And so like a lot of some allergies and things that he would have once in a while, they totally went away.
And then I stopped drinking processed, pasteurized lying. The whole Pasteur thing is a total lie. The Rockefellers came in and confiscated the milk business because it was good for you. Then they created machines that you had to buy because they were patented machines to process them. So the whole thing was a money scam and to keep you sick.
And Maureen
Yep.
could tell us all about that.
Oh my
She
gosh,
knows all
I can't
about the milk.
stand it. Right.
The
And
milk
so I
now.
quit drinking that
Wow.
store-bought milk, and all my eczema and everything just cleared up like magic.
Yeah, mine did too. Yeah.
It's crazy.
You feel better, you look better, all of those problems dissolve. And not that everything is absolutely perfect all the time.
No, but it's much better.
And if you get something, get ill from something, you're not ill for very long and you're not very ill. You're able to recover. And I do believe that that's, of course, about more than just the food. It's about the sunshine, the exposure.
Everything. The
It's
sleep,
all of it.
all of it. The water,
Well,
all of it.
I always say, look at a pie and you cut little pieces in the pie. Food and diet and exercise are not going to cure you and you make you better. You have to have all the pieces of the pie. You need to have rest and relaxation. You need
Is
to
it
have
cold
sunlight.
pie or hot pie?
You like cold pie.
I like both pies.
But you need to have a piece of every part of the pie, literally.
Yeah.
And when you put all that together, getting good sleep, you need to make sure like you're out in nature, prayer, all this stuff. It all goes hand in hand. And if you don't have that, you're missing a part of that pie, because I know now what I need. Like, I need this piece of the pie because I'm not getting it and I'm feeling it. You need to kind of put that all together. And without that, it really has changed my life. Totally, and changed his life. But for me, I was always about diet and exercise. Those are my two. But none of the other stuff was in the mix at all. Right. And now I have everything in the mix, and that's really helped it tremendously.
Good.
Water, sun, air, everything, make sure all that is good.
Yeah. I know raising our kids out on the farm, they were always outside barefooted. And like you, we produced most of our own food and we were healthy and strong. Now where we live in a community. We're still pretty healthy, but I can say we are very healthy. But our youngest does have respiratory problems since leaving that life behind and living in this house. When
you talk about that, we're more sanitized, like with the dishwasher. Everything. And washing, like I hand wash the dishes, there's like little things like that. And you think about that, the clothes, I don't know. It just seems, I think a lot of people might have more allergies and just kind of respiratory issues because of stuff like that too.
And again, our spray in the sky is a lot more.
They're more, kids are more sensitive.
We're being 10x'd on the sprays in the sky right now.
Yeah.
We really are. I'm noticing it more and more. I'm noticing more as I drive along and you drive through fog or through even a light rain. And it's not as wet as it used to be. It is more oily. Not always, but where I used to see that once in a while, now I'm noticing it much more frequently. So yeah, we're bombarded. But to do all of the things that you are doing together, even with those challenges, you're so much healthier and happier. And you guys really, I'm sure that you have a disagreement now and then, but every time I see you, you're always laughing.
No, we don't have disagreement. Everything goes my way.
You're smart enough to know that she's the boss. I think. Yeah.
We have our traditional roles.
Yes. Well, we do around here as well. And I'm happy with those roles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to get back out in the dirt. And I'd love to be off grid. You still use electrical energy. It's not just, it's not coming from a pole hooked up to
so
some
for like, if we've been out there 16 years, we've had solar now for maybe 3 of it. So for 13 years, we just lived off of a generator.
Yeah.
So if we ever needed power to do anything, we just fired up the generator and that's how we got our power.
But in our main house, like we have a couple more outlets in the learning center next door.
That's where all the
our root cellar is, where our solar is. In the house, there's not.
No.
Like I don't, like right now, I just put up some like outdoor lights above my sink, and my stove are the only lights that I have in there. But I'm not, with everything going on with the circadian rhythms and all that kind of stuff and the blue light and everything.
Yeah.
Where I'm
Wait, you froze. they're frozen. Hopefully they'll unfreeze. Hopefully they didn't just lose battery power. Let me see. Sorry about this, guys. I'm texting to see if okay. Stacy's texting me back, so there's something. Hopefully we can finish up this conversation. Phone got hot and just shut off. Okay. All right. Well, we're pretty much at the end of our discussion anyway. I was just going to go over a couple of things with Stacy and Doug, but it's been such a good conversation. I really admire them for their choices in life. And they're fun to watch because they've learned a lot. Remember, they went into this with no experience whatsoever. They just knew that they needed to make changes, and changes they did. Okay. Okay. We're good. So hopefully this conversation encourages you to think a little bit outside of the box as well. I know some of our listeners are homesteaders. Most are not. And I'm certainly not saying that that we all have to go to I don't want to use the word extreme, but as far as Doug and Stacy have, but if you can, just think about it. You don't have to worry about power outages. You don't have to worry about water supply too much anyway. They've never run out of water in all those years. So let's see. Stacy might be able to jump back on with her phone. We'll see. We'll give them a minute and I'll just continue talking. But we all can make changes. So even as Doug said, if you live in an apartment building, you can grow some food in pots. You can grow herbs. You can use herbs. You can still go to a park or go outside and just walk barefoot in grass. Maybe make sure it's not sprayed grass. You can eliminate the processed foods and get more exercise and, just all of the things that we've talked about in this discussion. They're all very good for us and will help all of us to feel better. I love the idea of living without the artificial EMFs and the energy output from Wi-Fi, but even from electrical appliances that are all around us. And LED lights, they may be cheap to run, but they are hard on our brains. And I know that LED has a big effect on me and my ability to sleep, as does the blue light exposure. So there are lots of things that we all can do to improve our situation and improve our health. Certainly, food is a big piece of the pie, but as Stacy and Doug were saying, it's not the only piece. We do need to have a physically active lifestyle. We need to have a good relationship with our Creator and with those around us. We need to get rid of the toxic relationships, and perhaps we are the toxin in the relationship. We need to look at that. And yes, drink lots more good, pure water, structured water. We will be having a show specifically about structured water soon. So drink more good quality water and eat better quality, pure foods, whole foods, not the processed stuff. So lots of things that we can do. And I would just encourage you to think about all of this, and maybe you can find a few things that you can change now in your own life and in your household to make things better. So anyway, we're going to sign off for now. And we'll be back next week with another good show. And then again, we have Melvin's Farm to Fork and God's Good Table, Health and Healing God's Way. I'm going to bring that slide up again. There it is. Health and Healing God's Way, April 25th through 27th at Melvin's Farm to Fork store in Wirtz, Virginia. There are lots of good hotels in Roanoke close by and Airbnbs and such, but it's a really wonderful time. So if you can come to that, we'd love to see you, and let me know in the comments if in fact you are able to come. And otherwise, we'll just look forward to next week's show and being together then. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next week.